Good morning. It's Saturday and it's time for the Saturday morning sales meeting. Hi, I'm Brad Smith. I am your original car smith, and it is Saturday. It's 9 a.m. Eastern time, and it's time for the Saturday morning sales meeting. I'm just going to get this out so some of our friends can find us this morning. Here we go. Sorry about this. It's just going to take a second. Some of this has gotten rearranged. So anyhow, I'll start here. Good morning. Good morning, good morning, good morning. I'm welcome all my automotive friends in here this morning. I am Brad Smith. I am your original car smith. That's right. See, why do I call myself the car smith? Because if you think about it over a period of time, a smith was something or somebody that knew everything about a particular industry. They knew everything, how to craft, how to make, how to create what was necessary in that industry. So a blacksmith was everything that had to do with metal, sometimes referred to as a metalsmith, but the reason they got to be calling a blacksmith is because they were usually covered with the soot from the fire. Sometimes a smith was a goldsmith, so it was everything to do with jewelry. So I kind of refer to myself as the car smith because it's everything automotive. So why everything automotive? Because I've spent over 30 years on the retail side of the automotive industry. At the same time, I've now spent several years on the vendor side of the automotive industry. So I can bring years and years and years of information and how that industry has evolved and where it's brought us to today. So today, what I want to talk about is how to build up those trust in our relationships with our customers. So we need to understand, first of all, that the typical automotive customer, when they walk into the showroom, or when they're dealing with you still over the phone because you're getting connected on the internet, or just because they picked up the phone and called you, you need to understand that right now, today, trust between the customer and the automotive dealer is the lowest it has ever been. It doesn't matter all the goodwill that we try to do in our community, all the different ways we interact. Customers still do not trust us. They don't trust us as automotive salespeople. And we need to understand that lack of trust, when the customer walks into the dealership, they're already in a defensive posture. They're already of the feeling that they're going to try to take advantage of me. They're going to try to force something on me. They're going to try to push me into something that I don't want to do. They're going to try to push me into buying something I'm not prepared for. So what we need to be able to do is we need to be able to build that relationship, and we need to build that trust up. And there's a lot of ways that we can do it. Unfortunately, because of the way the automotive industry has evolved in the last 10 years, a lot of the things that we've done as automotive dealerships, we become our own worst enemy. So what do I really mean by that? You see, a little over 10 years ago, the dealer was in control of everything. They controlled 90-some% of all the information that a consumer was able to receive in the automotive industry. Sometimes they walked in to go pick up those very expensive, multicolor, very thick brochures on a vehicle. Sometimes they do it through Car and Driver, Road and Track, Automobile. Sometimes it was Consumer Reports. They try to read different articles, but there was only so much information that a consumer could get on their own. They had to depend on the automotive dealer to provide that information to them. So here's what also ended up happening is now, because of the internet, there's a lot more information out there. So consumers, because they didn't trust that relationship, because you were the only one that could give them the information they wanted, They didn't trust that. They had to go elsewhere to get the information. Now consumers are much more educated than they've ever been before they start picking up the phone and calling you, before they walk into your store. According to JD Powers, who does surveys and information on lots and lots and lots of different industries, but they do it very primarily in the automotive industry. The average consumer, from the time they start questioning whether it's time for me to buy a car until the day they walk in the showroom and drive out with a newer vehicle for them, is an average as of last year at 99 days. 99 days. And during that same time period, the average consumer will visit 13 automotive websites collecting information before they purchase a car. Now, during that same time period, some of that 13 automotive websites, in order to receive information from that automotive vendor or the person providing information, they have to do something. They have to do something by giving their information, and what happened? They just became a lead. They just became a lead to the automotive dealer, who now understands this customer is in the market. They're looking for a car. So it really muddies up the world for the automotive dealer, and it muddies up the world for the automotive consumer, because now they're getting information from a lot of different sources, and the dealer really doesn't know what actually ended up bringing the customer into the showroom floor. They end up depending upon their CRM, or the customer relations management tool, to tell them who was responsible. Truthfully, there's a lot of different sources that were responsible to bring the customer in. But what was the driving force? That's a whole nother subject. We'll cover that another day. But today I want to talk about building that trust. So we need to understand there is still a disconnect on the showroom floor by the sales managers, who still think the same way they did 10 years ago, and think that I have to get my customer in the showroom floor before I'm willing to give them information. They have to come in here before I'll tell them what the car's worth, before I tell them what the payments are going to be, before I tell them this. Here's the problem. If you think like the consumer, and the consumer's out there, and the consumer wants this information, we are in the information age. If you are not willing to give the information to the customer will go somewhere where they can get it. It's not a question of just going to the dealer down the street any longer, because somebody on the internet is going to give them the information they want. They're going to get it whether you give it to them or not. But if you refuse to give it to them, they're probably not going to come see you. They're not going to come in the door. That's why they're on the internet or on the phone, because they want the information. They're not face to face because they're not willing yet to come in. They still don't trust you. And by forcing them to come in, you only reinforce that mistrust. So, my friends, give the customer what they want. They will get it. They will get it. If you don't give it to them, all you're going to do is shoo them away. Give them the information and encourage them with that information to come visit you. So, but there is still that disconnect between an internet department who knows it and the showroom floor who still wants to control it. Let's assume now, though, that we've given our information to the consumer. We've convinced them to come in and visit and look at cars. Here's the other part, the problem. The old sales process was designed in a time period where dealers controlled the entire information. And there needed to be a flow of the way that information was delivered in order to be able to continue to maintain control or maintain relationship with the consumer. Everybody came in the same place in the a shopping process because they were all still looking for information. But today, consumers come in different stages. Some of them have gotten information on their trade and some haven't. Some of them have shopped online for information about this vehicle versus that vehicle. They know the differences between the makes and the models, and some haven't. Some still have a lot of questions. And yet some people have been on the internet and they know the vehicle they want, they know the model they want, they know the trim level they want, they know the options they want, they know the color they want. They know the vehicle they want. Some of them do. And yet some of them think they do, and then when they walk in, they find that maybe this vehicle wasn't exactly the vehicle that they thought they were looking at or thought they were receiving on the internet in the first place. Over 30% of the people that walk in the door thinking they know what they want still buy something else. So, friends, there frequently is some variance there. And we need to not just be tunnel visioned, we need to make sure that our customers know what their options are. But if you keep trying to control them and tell them what is going to happen, then you will still build up and continue to be in that lane of mistrust. So here's the way around it. Instead of telling, ask. Instead of telling them who you are and what you're involved in and noticing different things about them and telling them all about yourself and therefore they ought to trust you, understand that the best way to build relationships with your clients is to ask them questions. They believe that you are genuinely concerned with who they are, what they want, and what they're all about when you're genuinely interested in them. And you give them the impression that you're genuinely interested in them by asking questions about them. See, when I'm talking to a customer, I don't only want to know what they're here for. I don't only want to know what car they're looking at. I don't only want to know where they are in the automotive sales process, but who are they? Tell me about you and your family. Are you married? Are you divorced? Are you single? Do you have children? Are they still in the house? How old are they? How do you use your car running around? Do you use it hauling kids? Do you create a situation where you're hauling a lot of gear? Is this vehicle just for commuter back and forth to work? Or are you looking for something to not only find yourself comfortable for, but all of your family as well? Are you interested in comfort and convenience? Are you are you interested in economy and in dependability, right? There's lots of different things, buying motives that people are interested in. Maybe it's sheer economics. Maybe it's a combination of a lot of different things, but we don't know if we don't ask. Customers will tell you the way they want to be sold if you ask questions. Here's the next part. Building that trust and relationship. This doesn't work with your kids, so don't do it with your customers. If you tell your children what to do, just do it because I said so, you are likely to get pushback from your children. Explain to them why you want them to do that, and they will understand and they'll follow. So don't just tell your customers, explain the process. Explain what you're going to do and why you're going to do it. Explain what their vehicle is worth and why it's worth that. Explain to them. What I'd like to do is I will absolutely show you the car that you wanted to come in on. But just in case, do you mind if I show you a couple ones with a couple different options that you might also be interested in, right? Ask the questions, guide them along the process, tell them what you're doing. If you become transparent in what you're doing and why you're doing it, customers will understand and they will trust you along the way. Some of the most successful people in the entire industry are now in a relationship with their clientele where they can sit down and tell a customer, no, you don't want to do that. You want to do this instead. And they will say, okay. But it took building up that relationship for them to even get there in the first place. If you don't take the time through your longevity of your relationship with your customer, you will never get to the same point. You have to be able to build that relationship so they trust you. So when you tell them something, they will follow your advice, but they do that by being explained along the way why you're doing what you're doing. Take the time to explain to your customers. You will find that in the long run, you will build up more relationship, you will build up more trust, you will create customers for life when you build that relationship. Thanks so much for being here. I'm going to try and throw it in a little bit more into this page, the original Carsmith, so you get more tips in the automotive industry as we go, as we keep moving forward. But I want to thank you for being here today. You know, drop a little hello in here. Let me know that you're in. Let me know who's in here. Sometimes drop some questions. It'll help me with topics down the road of what kind of things are interesting to you, what it is that you'd like to know, what it is that you'd like to know within the industry. I guarantee you there isn't anywhere in your dealership I can't help. So thank you for being here today. We look forward to you one-on-one for the Saturday morning sales meeting next Saturday right here on Brad Smith, the original Carsmith. Thanks so much for being here. We'll see you next week. Bye now.